Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our Meet the Psychologists series. Edited by Dr. Stephen F. Myler, PhD. Today, we're going to be looking at the life of Alfred Adler. As always, if you find this video helpful, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Let's begin. Alfred Adler was born in Vienna, Austria in 1870. He had two brothers and a younger sister. Adler was the second oldest of three boys. Adler suffered from pneumonia when he was young, which left him with lifelong health complications. This made him feel weaker than other children his age, which led to him being bullied. Adler began to study medicine at the University of Vienna, because he wanted to learn how to overcome his physical weakness. While studying, he met a woman named Therese, who became his wife and bore him 3 children. One of his sons committed suicide in 1937, which devastated Adler and his wife. While studying medicine, Adler also took some philosophy classes. It was here that he was introduced to the works of philosophers like Kant and Aristotle, which sparked his interest in understanding human nature. Adler began to believe that there were universal truths about humans that could be discovered through careful observation and logical thinking. This led him to believe that it was possible to come up with an objective basis for morality. He believed that people were fundamentally good, but they become bad when they compare themselves to others and feel inferior. He called this feeling of inferiority the striving for superiority. After graduating, Adler worked as a doctor for a while. However, he soon came to the conclusion that medicine didn't really interest him that much. Instead, he wanted to devote his career to understanding human behavior. Adler joined a local society for the study of hypnotism, and was soon appointed chairman of the society. In 1902, Adler met Sigmund Freud at a conference in Salzburg. Adler would later say that the light of a new day had broken upon him. When he heard Freud speak, Adler was so impressed by what he heard that he immediately began seeing patients using Freudian methods. Later that year, Adler would join the Psychoanalytic Society of Vienna as a member. Over the next few years, Adler treated many patients alongside Freud, and the two men would discuss their cases together. However, by 1908, Adler had begun to disagree with some of Freud's theories. For example, Freud believed that the Oedipus complex was a universal part of psychosexual development, whereas Adler believed that it only applied to certain individuals under certain circumstances. Adler also disagreed with Freud's theory that sexual drives were the root of all human behavior. Adler believed that it was more accurate to describe humans as being motivated by a striving for superiority, rather than being driven by sexual urges. In 1911, Adler co-wrote an article criticizing the psychoanalytic movement and its strict adherence to the sexual interpretation of dreams. This caused a rift between him and Freud. In 1912, Adler left the Psychoanalytic Society of Vienna and founded his own society, the Vienna Psychoanalytic Society. This marked the beginning of the split between Freudian psychoanalysis and Adlerian psychology. Although Adler left the group, he remained on good terms with most of the members, including Jung. However, Jung and Adler would later have a falling out after Jung accused Adler of betraying Freud. During World War I, Adler served as a medical officer in the Austrian army. He was deeply affected by the war and began to develop ideas about how his theories of individual psychology could be used to promote peace. After the war, Adler traveled around the United States lecturing about his ideas. He founded the Society for Individual Psychology in Chicago in 1924. Which eventually became the American Institute for Adlerian Psychology. Adler continued to travel around the world giving lectures until his death in 1937. So what exactly did Adler actually come up with? What is Adlerian psychology all about? Adler's work can be divided into three main areas: his theory of personality, his theory of psychotherapy, and his social psychology. According to Adler, each person has a unique style of adapting to the world that is shaped by their early childhood experiences. Adler believed that it was important to understand the whole person in their unique context. He rejected the idea that human behavior could be reduced to unconscious drives and instincts. Instead, Adler believed that people are motivated by a variety of factors, including social and cultural influences. He also believed that people are not simply reactive beings who are driven by their past. Instead, he believed that people have the ability to choose how they respond to their environment. Adler called this ability free will. Adler's theory of psychotherapy was based on the idea that people can change their behavior by changing the way they think about their problems. He developed a form of talk therapy that focused on helping people explore their feelings and gain insight into their behavior. Adler also believed that it was important to consider the social and cultural context of the person's problems. He developed a technique called catching oneself that is still used in psychotherapy today. This technique involves helping the person to become aware of their negative thoughts and then replace them with more positive thoughts. Adler's social psychology was based on the idea that people are fundamentally social beings. He believed that people are motivated by a need to belong, and that social relationships are a fundamental part of the human experience. He also believed that people are capable of great acts of kindness and compassion, but that they can also be motivated by selfishness and greed. Adler's ideas had a major impact on the field of psychology. His work paved the way for future theorists to develop new and more effective forms of psychotherapy. His ideas also helped to shift the focus of psychology from the individual to society as a whole. It might seem that Adler's contributions to psychology should have made him just as famous as Freud or Jung, but this isn't the case. Why is this? There are a number of reasons for why Adler never achieved the same level of fame as Freud or Jung. Firstly, Adler's ideas were seen as a threat to Freudian orthodoxy. Freud was the founder of psychoanalysis, and his ideas were widely accepted within the field of psychology. However, Adler's ideas were seen as a challenge to Freud's authority, and this led to a lot of opposition from the psychoanalytic community. Secondly, Adler's ideas were not as sensational as Freud's. Freud's theories about the unconscious mind and sexual drives were much more attention-grabbing than Adler's theories about social influences on behavior. Lastly, Adler was not as charismatic as Freud. Freud was a brilliant lecturer, and this helped to make him famous outside of the field of psychology. Adler was not as gifted as a lecturer, and this limited his appeal to a wider audience. Despite these obstacles, Adler's ideas had a profound impact on the field of psychology, and he is considered to be one of the founding fathers of modern psychotherapy. His work paved the way for future theorists to develop new and more effective forms of therapy, and his ideas continue to be influential today. Alfred Adler died in 1937 from a cerebral hemorrhage. At the time of his death, he was working on a book about the psychology of Hitler and Nazi Germany. Adler's work was largely forgotten during the mid-20th century, but it has since been rediscovered and is enjoying a revival in popularity. Adler's ideas are being used today to develop new and innovative forms of psychotherapy, and his work is having a major impact on the field of social psychology. So, that's the story of Alfred Adler, one of the most important but least known figures in psychology. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Edited by the renowned Dr. Stephen F. Myler, Ph.D.